An elderly man and his friendly dog were a common sight in America's most remote national forests. But Gary Hilton wasn't there for the scenery. He was hunting a different kind of prey. This is a disturbing story of how a seemingly harmless drifter became one of the most feared serial killers in the history of the Appalachian Trail, leaving a trail of terror in his wake. New Year's Day, 2008. For 24-year-old Meredith Emerson, it was a day to do what she loved most, hike. With her black lab, Ella, by her side, she set out on the Freeman Trail on Blood Mountain in Georgia. Meredith was no amateur. She was a strong, capable University of Georgia honors graduate who was at home in the wilderness. As she made her way along the trail, other hikers saw her. They also saw an older, weathered-looking man with his own dog, a golden retriever, who seemed to be following her. When Meredith didn't come home the next day, her friends knew something was terribly wrong. Her car was found in a parking lot. Inside, they found her water bottle, a dog leash, and a police baton. All signs that a struggle had taken place. A frantic search began, a search that would grip the nation and peel back the layers on a series of horrifying crimes spanning 3 states. The beautiful, serene trails of America's national forests had become a hunting ground, and the predator was a 61-year-old drifter named Gary Michael Hilton. Before we dig into the monster, it's important to remember the people whose lives he stole. They weren't just names in a case file. They were vibrant people who, like Meredith Emerson, found joy in the great outdoors, and their love for nature is what made them vulnerable. Meredith Hope Emerson was full of life. Born in South Carolina and raised in Colorado and North Carolina, she graduated with honors from the University of Georgia with a degree in French. Friends and family describe her as a force of nature herself, someone who wasn't easily intimidated. On that New Year's Day, she was simply a young woman enjoying a day out with her dog before her life was brutally cut short. Just months earlier, in October 2007, another pair of hikers vanished. John Bryant, 80, and his wife Irene, 84, were a devoted couple who had been married for over 50 years. On October 21st, they left home for a day hike in North Carolina's stunning Pisgah National Forest to see the fall colors. When they didn't return, their family grew worried. Their car was found at a trailhead, but John and Irene were gone. An initial 911 call from Irene's phone had failed to connect due to a poor signal, a silent, desperate cry for help lost to the mountains. Irene Bryant was a remarkable woman, a retired large animal veterinarian. She earned her degree in 1947, a time when very few women entered the field. John was her dedicated partner in life and adventure. They were beloved parents and grandparents whose golden years were spent exploring the nature they cherished. And then there was Cheryl Dunlap, a 46-year-old nurse and devoted Sunday school teacher from Florida. On December 1st, 2007, she drove to the Leon Sinks geological area in Florida's Appalachian National Forest to do something she often did, find a quiet spot to read. When she failed to show up for dinner that evening, and then her Sunday school class the next day, her friends reported her missing. Her car was found abandoned on a highway, one of its tires punctured by a sharp blade. These were the known victims: a bright young woman, a loving elderly couple, and a caring nurse. They were strangers to each other, their lives connected only by their love of the outdoors and by the predator who stalked them there. So, who was Gary Michael Hilton? To most people, he was just a creepy old drifter. Born in Atlanta in 1946, Hilton's life was unstable and violent from a young age. At 13, he reportedly shot his stepfather, though no charges were ever filed. He spent time in a mental health facility before enlisting in the Army, where he served as a paratrooper. His military career was short-lived, and he was discharged in 1967 amid growing signs of mental instability. For the next 40 years, Hilton lived on the fringes. He worked odd jobs and spent most of his life as a drifter, marked by petty crimes and bizarre behavior. People who knew him said he'd do things like pull out his own teeth with pliers. He mumbled to himself and had an unsettling habit of staring at women on hiking trails. He often carried an extendable baton and other weapons, fascinated with their power. His most chillingly effective tool of disguise was his golden retriever, Dandy. The presence of a friendly dog put people at ease, masking the predatory nature of the man, holding the leash. He used the dog to seem harmless, to start conversations, and to get close. It was a calculated move that let him blend into the very hiking culture he planned to violate. Hilton was driven by a twisted mix of financial desperation and dark, violent fantasies. He would later admit that he meticulously planned his hunts, often camping out for days, just waiting for the right victim. Eerily, years before his murder spree, Hilton had collaborated with a filmmaker on a low-budget movie. The plot he helped write was about a serial killer who stalks and murders women in the woods, a chilling preview of the real-life horror he would later unleash. By 2007, at 61 years old, Gary Hilton was a man with nothing to lose, prowling America's national forest with his dog by his side, a predator hiding in plain sight. The fall and winter of 2007 was a season of terror in the southeastern U.S., though law enforcement didn't know it yet. The cases were in 3 different states, and no one realized that a single predator connected them. The first major break came with the disappearance of John and Irene Bryant. After their car was found, searchers made a grim discovery on November 10th. Irene's body covered in leaves. An autopsy showed she'd been bludgeoned to death and had defensive wounds, meaning she fought for her life. But John was still missing. The only clue was a chilling one. Someone had used their bank card in Ducktown, Tennessee, miles away. Weeks later, another case surfaced in Florida. After Cheryl Dunlap was reported missing, her car was found with that flat tire. Soon, investigators got a terrifying lead. Hunters in the Appalachian National Forest had stumbled upon a human torso on December 15th. The body had been decapitated and the hands removed, a clear attempt to hide the victim's identity. Using DNA, authorities confirmed the remains belonged to Cheryl Dunlap. Her ATM card had been used multiple times by a masked person, and witnesses reported seeing a strange, homeless-looking man with a dog and a white Chevy Astro van. Everything changed on New Year's Day, 2008, with Meredith Emerson's abduction. Her disappearance from a popular trail sparked massive media attention. When her dog, Ella, was found wandering alone in a grocery store parking lot 60 miles away, public fear intensified. Tips flooded in. A former employer of Gary Hilton saw the news about an older man with a dog and called the police to identify him. For 4 days, Hilton held Meredith captive, demanding her bank PIN. In an incredible act of courage, she repeatedly gave him the wrong number. This act of defiance likely saved others, because it kept Hilton from getting money quickly and disappearing. The failed ATM withdrawals created a digital trail for police. Hilton was getting desperate and sloppy. On January 5th, a clerk at a Quick Trip convenience store recognized Hilton from the news. He was at the gas station, frantically trying to clean out his van with a vacuum and bleach. The call came into the police. "The guy you're looking for is cleaning out his van." Law enforcement swarmed the convenience store. As Hilton tried to scrub away the evidence, he was surrounded. The hunt was over. Inside his van, police found blood that was quickly matched to Meredith Emerson's DNA. They also found a license plate belonging to another woman, a piece of evidence that linked Hilton to the area where the Bryants were killed. Hilton's arrest was the key that unlocked the whole thing. Authorities in Georgia, Florida, and North Carolina started sharing information, and the horrifying picture became clear. The suspect description, the use of ATM cards, the white van, the dog, it all pointed to one man. While Hilton was in custody, the search for Meredith's body intensified. Investigators knew that finding her was critical to give her family some peace and to build an ironclad case. The search area was huge, and the pressure was on. So they turned to the one person who knew where she was. Her killer. They offered him a deal. If he led them to Meredith's body, they would take the death penalty off the table. It was a controversial decision, but a necessary one. Hilton, a narcissist who relished control, agreed. He led them deep into the woods to the place where he had left her. Just as he had with Cheryl Dunlap, he had decapitated Meredith, a final, depraved attempt to hide his crime. Once Hilton was in custody, the true horror of what he'd done started to unravel. He was a performer, a narcissist who seemed to enjoy the attention, often toying with investigators. During interrogations, He was boastful and chillingly detached. He claimed to have different personalities, a soldier, a scientist, an artist, and called himself a different breed of killer. He described the murders as distasteful, but necessary to vent his rage against society. He pleaded guilty to murdering Meredith Emerson and received a life sentence in Georgia. In exchange for another life sentence in North Carolina, he confessed to killing John and Irene Bryant in gruesome detail. He described ambushing the couple and immediately killing Irene because he couldn't control both of them. He then forced John into his van, drove for miles, got his bank information, and shot him in the head. John Bryant's skull was finally found by a hunter in February 2008. In Florida, prosecutors sought the death penalty for Cheryl Dunlap's murder. The evidence was overwhelming. Witnesses placed him at the scene, and his blade matched the puncture in her car tire. A jury found him guilty, and he was sentenced to death. Years later, from his cell on death row, Hilton finally confessed on camera to killing Cheryl Dunlap, boasting to a reporter that he was giving him a scoop. When asked if he enjoyed the power he held over his victims, he admitted, "You know, in a perverse kind of way, I do." The families were left to pick up the pieces. At his sentencing for the Bryant murders, their children spoke of their wonderful, hard-working parents, murdered for the $300 Hilton got from their bank card. They noted that Hilton was seen laughing in the courtroom, his apology ringing completely hollow. The Gary Hilton case is a stark reminder that darkness can hide in the most beautiful places. It brings up so many questions about the nature of evil. What do you think? Do you believe there could be other unsolved cases connected to him? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you find these true crime stories important, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more. Gary Hilton is currently on death row in Florida and is also serving multiple life sentences for his crimes in Georgia and North Carolina. He remains a suspect in several other unsolved disappearances and murders that fit his pattern, including cases stretching back years before his known killing spree. We may never know the true number of lives he destroyed. The story of a national forest killer left a permanent scar on the hiking community, shattering the sense of peace many sought on the trails. It's a story of profound loss, for kind and vibrant people, but it is also a story of incredible bravery. The courage of Irene Bryant, who fought back. The courage of Meredith Emerson, whose 4-day defiance led to her killer's capture and almost certainly saved others. A memorial stone was placed in a park to honor Meredith. It reads, "Remember Meredith Emerson. She hiked the path of life with Ella, love, and wonder." It's a tribute not just to her, but to John and Irene Bryant and to Cheryl Dunlap. A reminder of the lives they live and the light they brought into the world, a light that no predator could ever extinguish.